What's up, Robbie? A lot of drama this week on X. You know, it's got hotter than a ghost pepper out there, man. Lance Speed's claiming $100 million in trading profits. What do you think?
That's a lot of beans, bro. But some of the comments we've seen on these is like some serious shots fired.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Coast to Coast Traders Podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Robbie.
So, what's up, man? How you been?
I've been pretty good, man. I'm excited about some of the stuff that's coming out from Tradeovate and NinjaTrader. But although I got my hopes up a little bit too high with regards to the Tradeovate things.
Yeah, they had some good
What's new with you?
updates. Just living, man. Just trying to make it out here. I'm gonna be taking a little bit of time away from trading, so I'm just gonna chillax for a little bit. But just
All
stay
right,
up on
cool.
what's going on with the market.
Yeah, for sure. So should we just jump right into the NinjaTrader stuff?
Yeah, let's do it. So we'll share the release notes here. So walk us through this, Robbie. You're the one who put me onto it.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of cool new things came out for the NinjaTrader desktop software. This pulse thing reminds me of a feature that Top Step X had. I think they might have called it the tilt. This isn't necessarily something that I would use personally. The features that I was most really interested in were the second one, the order entry on mouse hotkeys.
Yeah.
So if you have a mouse that has all kinds of different keys, I know there's a lot of gaming mice that have like a dozen keys on this buttons on the side. You really could have all kinds of different buttons configured for different hotkeys. And besides these mouse hotkeys, there's more stuff to choose from. But this one particularly reminded me of something funny. I think we joked about a long time ago about having like a customized looking slot machine just handle. And when
Yes.
you pull it, it goes long or it goes short.
Mm-hmm.
So like this makes it out like you could have done that before for sure by just having some other hotkey, I would imagine. But this would make that absolutely like super easy to do this day.
Yeah, that would
So
be
I
that.
thought that was kind of interesting.
That would be really funny, actually. Like, yeah, I'm going long, cha-ching, just pull it down. That'd be
Yeah,
really
yeah.
funny.
So this is pretty interesting. I think I'm not sure that I'll use this feature just yet. I think it's cool to have. I think I'll still probably right click on my charts and just set my limit orders for entries, short or long.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely a cool one to have. Scrolling down, the show indicators toggle is pretty handy if you
Yep.
just want to like show a clean chart to somebody.
Yep.
This one doesn't have a default hotkey, so you have to record your own. I think for me, I did Control Shift I.
Okay.
But it's just nice if you just want to have all your indicators gone, just a quick way to get rid of them or enable them back in.
Yep. Yeah, I like that too. I think it's to be super handy, super handy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because in the past, like what I've done just really quickly is I'll like duplicate the chart in a new tab, and then I will just like delete all the indicators off.
Yeah, which is a little bit of a hassle because like
Mm-hmm.
you would think, yeah, this should be a little bit easier, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so now it's like, yeah, this is just about as easy as you can get.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that you can record a hotkey for that, so that's cool.
Yeah.
This one's interesting. The configurable P&L and position colors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a interesting concept. Also,
I don't know how much I would want to use that. Like, I think I'm good with just the way things are. Would you use this? Like, because I know you were experimenting with the black and white candles for a while.
I don't know.
Do you think you'd want to go short if it's black, long if it's white, or whatever?
See, that's what part is. I was misunderstanding what this was. So I thought that this is, I thought that this was like showing your P&L based off of trades that you took. You know what I mean? But this is kind of just
Within
showing
those
like,
ranges?
yeah, this is showing
Oh,
like
okay.
ups and down moves. I don't know. I don't think I would personally use this.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to play around with it and see how it actually looks. But
Yeah.
um, there was a different one that I did use that I did really like. So what else is this? Was streamlined template loading?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just pretty handy because, like you were saying, you'd duplicate a tab and then you'd hide the
Mm-hmm.
plugins or the add-ons and stuff. So this is just like an easier way. If you have different configurations, you don't necessarily want all the same indicators on one chart versus the other. This is one way to have like this is like going to be my NQ specific chart or something else.
Yeah. Yep. That works.
So it's similar to like backing up your settings, but like this is chart specific.
Yeah. You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting
The
too.
next one though, I like the time highlighters.
Yep, this one's nice.
A while back, I was mentioning how like on certain news days, I'll deliberately like draw a box,
Mm-hmm.
just a rectangle,
Mm-hmm.
for to remind me about the news. And so now like this is similar, but instead of having to draw the box, as high or low like within the price action, like this is just infinitely vertical, from top to bottom.
Yep, this is super handy. Actually, I kind of wish that there was something that was this like neat the way that this looks. 'Cause I think this is
Uh,
very clean, has a very clean look. I wish there was something that had
yeah.
this clean of a look in Thinkorswim.
Yeah. And like besides news, like you can just configure this, like say, hey, I want to be reminded to only trade or to not trade the Asia session or something like that. You could configure almost, I don't know what the limit was on the number of these that you can, but I recall when I looked at the settings last, you could just type in how many different time zones or
Mm-hmm.
increments you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just punch in the time in each different one. So if you just want, I want to I want to show a highlight the Asian session, the London
Mm-hmm.
session, or whatever. You can do that pretty easily now. So that's pretty convenient.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. And I just like the way this whole thing looks. It's pretty sweet. Um,
Hmm.
this is for the script access for volume profiles, so that's pretty handy for developers, right, who want to be able to program their own. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Uh, guidance when a user has no accounts. So that's just, I mean, that's kind of how it looked before. So I guess they just changed that a little bit. Trade detector alerts.
I didn't dig into this one, so I'm not sure what this is. Um, yeah, I'd have to just actually like try to play around with this to see what's actually going on.
Yeah, something to do with
I don't
order
have
flow.
any alerts actually showing up
Mm-hmm.
on anything that I use.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'd have to have something that throws an alert before this would show me anything. That gold script that I was demoing for a while
Yep.
did have an alerts option, but recent revisions don't. So I'd probably have to talk to our guy about that. Although I don't know if this would just be interested. I don't know if I'd be interested in using this at all in general. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's somehow related to order flow. So if somebody else has experience with this, they can comment in and kind of share with us how they use it.
Hmm.
This import export of workspaces is handy. I know that like
Right.
I had set up my workspace, whatever, on my main computer, and then I exported it to the laptop already. So I'd done this before in the past. Um,
Yeah. So this is a little more streamlined because if I remember correctly, prior to this feature, you would have to do like like a full backup of your NinjaTrader through the tools dropdown.
yes, yeah, it was like a massive file. It was a pain to move it over.
Yeah,
So
and so this is like any features that they give you, like these quality of life things, are pretty handy because I don't know what it is with NinjaTrader, but every once in a while, something will happen that forces me to pretty much nuke all my settings and start from scratch. And usually, I'm able to like use a backup from one of my other PCs,
mhm.
but it's still a pain in the butt.
Oh, for sure, for
So
sure.
this is really nice
Yep.
for sure.
It definitely is. Configurable quotes in time and sales, if that's your thing. Um, you can, it says wicks and outlines optionally match the candle's body. So you can adjust like how you want the wicks to look, which is cool.
Hmm.
That's a pretty cool thing. That gives you much more customization availability similar to Thinkorswim.
Yeah,
You can now do 12 and 24-hour programming, which is good, for the chart times.
yeah. I never. I could have sworn that my charts were always 24 hours. So maybe there was a different way to display this in the past, or maybe I'm just that oblivious that I never noticed it was only 24 hours. I don't know, but I could have sworn I always had. I might have to go back in some of my older recordings to double check
Well, yeah,
if I had 12-hour or 24.
it's always been 24, so now you have the 12 option.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep, yep. And then you're going to do additional time frame settings based on calendar values, which is nice, like how many weeks to load, etc. Indicator descriptions support line breaks and hyperlinks, so that's kind of cool, just giving you a little bit more information here. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, apparently this is a bigger pain in the ass than we thought it would be. Because I'm talking to the guy that does the gold script, and he tried demoing this, and he's like, "Dude, this is a huge pain in the butt."
Hmm.
So I'll have to look in that myself because I haven't looked at it personally, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a cool feature for sure for anybody that does script development. But
Yeah.
maybe they need to refine it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So it's all pretty good, man. I think it's a overall pretty handy. We'll have to link this in the description box down below for people to be able to check it out.
Hmm.
Um yeah. Yeah.
So
So
did you hear about this prop.tradeovate stuff, Joe?
only a little bit, and the only thing I know is that it was kind of not what we were hoping for it to be with the Tradeovate. We were hoping that through Tradeovate you could be able to trade multiple prop firms at the same time, but it doesn't look that way. Look that way at the moment. So
Yeah, that was my biggest hope. And I actually emailed Tradeovate for
hmm
clarity on that because I'm like, hey guys, this is what I was thinking. Can
hmm
you like let me know if that's really what it is or not? And they're like, oh, check out the website. I'm like, dude, I did read the website. That's why I'm emailing you
yeah,
because it's not clear to me. Like, and so I've like, so can you trade multiple accounts between firms, or is it just multiple accounts like you've always been able to do
right.
with within the same provider?
Yeah,
So I ended up contacting Lucid instead through their chat, and I asked them the same question. I said, hey, you guys are one of the premier partners at the moment. Can you verify this for me? So they showed me some slides, I guess, but pretty much confirmed just what you said. It's only the accounts that you have at the one firm.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Which you were always able to copy trade those and do all that together anyways. But they did make one sort of big update, which is nice. And that's this here, where like these actually work now. So
Hmm.
apparently this used to not work before. I've always kind of stuck to NinjaTrader and not Tradeovate, but um, this is nice anyways because you can set the loss limits in Tradeovate, even if you're using Ninja. Like, even if you're using Ninja Desktop,
Right.
you can set your
Hmm.
loss limits here, and it will lock you out. So that's a plus. That's definitely a plus. Um,
Yeah. So to access that, you would go to trader .tradeovate.com.
yes, correct. And then
And
you
then once you see your chart on the right side, there's like a little shield risk looking icon to get access to this.
Yep. 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 So it's pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
So it's about time, I'd say, because like you were saying, these settings looked like they were there before, but they actually didn't work. And so I know you and I both have cash accounts through NinjaTrader, and we had access to these. But
Yeah.
the way the accounts work through the prop is like there's an account owner, and then there's like a privileged user. Or I don't know what the terminology is, but there is a way to create a second user that has limited access, and that person doesn't have access to the risk settings.
Yes. Well, they used to not, but now they do.
You used to not, but yeah, now they do. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Exactly. Because you were not that guy before, right? It's like that meme. You're not that guy, bro. But now you are that guy.
Yeah. But here's a caveat though: is so the once the risk settings toggle, then any new so you'll get liquidated
hmm
once the parameters hit, and then any new trade will be rejected.
hmm
But if your discipline is lacking or your self control is lacking, I should say, you could go back into the account, tweak the settings, save it, and then let yourself back in. So it doesn't lock you out like Top Step would.
Right. Well, and Top Step had the two options before too, because right there was like a lock and block, or there was just a
Yeah,
lockout.
there's configurable settings at least. Yeah, but
Yeah.
on this one, it's like there is no lock and block. It's just a liquidation, and then it'll keep locking you unless you turn it off. But on
Y-
Top Step, if you had the lock and block, that was it. You couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, and that's probably where most people have to be.
Yeah.
Most people should be as on that lock out and block me out for the rest of the day.
Yeah, but hey, it's a good step in the right direction because at least you deliberately have to log in and be like, I know what I'm doing here. I'm turning off the safety belt, or the
Yep.
the training wheels, whatever you want to refer to it as, and then it's like that. I want to keep trading even though I hit my max loss or whatever. Like I have to, So hopefully, there's enough of a step there that makes you really double think before you pull the trigger to turn it off.
Yep. Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes here, bro. This Lance B drama.
Yeah, it's something else. This actually popped up. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago, right? But it's sort of dragging out.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It looks like the last post here was made only about like, this one we got here is about 4 days ago. So basically, this guy named Matt, right, whose account, and I'll show it here. This guy named Matt, who goes by at Traders Paradise, and he works with Mafu. He works My Funded Futures. He's on their live stream, right? He is not the same Matt who's the CEO of My Funded Futures. So just for the record there, because that's Matt Leach.
Good point, because I was actually confused initially, thinking that this was a CEO guy.
Yeah, easy enough to do, right? I mean, too many Matts in the world. So,
Yeah.
but this guy Matt is essentially calling out Lance, right? Challenging Lance's $100 million in profits. Now, it's really interesting that he's calling out Lance, because obviously Lance has already been verified, right? There's been a lot of different public appreciation posts, and affirmations of his profits, right, through SMB Capital, through Trillium, and he's also going to be in the latest Market Wizards book. So that means that Jack Swagger has verified his profits himself, because that's the prerequisite to being in the book. So the profits have already been verified by multiple parties, right? And but it seems like there's something that's just off here,
Yeah. So this Matt guy initially challenged Lance to show his profits, and he would put up $100,000 to the charity of his choice if he would do it. So what's really stopping? Like, because if it was me, that's a free $100,000 donation to a charity. That's great, right? So like, what's really stopping Lance from just, okay, let me work with this guy, say, hey, look, this is not as easy to just do. Perhaps, like, I don't know what the reasoning is, but like, give me a week or two or something. Give me a deadline that I can work within, and then I'll take you up on your offer, rather than just not verifying.
Well,
What do you think?
I think that it's probably easiest to explain it as Lance has made $100 million in trading profits. This is my thoughts. Lance has made $100 million in trading profits over his lifetime. However, he traded at a legit prop firm, not like prop firms, not these funding companies, prop firms, like an actual prop firm where there's a desk and a risk manager and multiple traders and etc. And you have a boss and you get a portion of the profits, etc. And they continue to they'll allow you to up your size and all that stuff as you prove that you are worthy and you're successful, like a legit prop firm. So Lance probably made a significant portion of that $100 million in profits through the prop firm, which he only would have received a portion of. So if Lance starts showing, let's just say, like, his tax returns, well, his tax returns are not going to show $100 million in trading profits, because this is my thoughts, is that he didn't make $100 million himself. He made $100 million in trading profits while at the firm,
Right.
And I know that he, of course, has traded his own money, and he's made a few videos about that. And I guess I shouldn't say I know. I'm just going off of his word that he's traded his own money. But that's my thought, is that's why he can't prove he's made $100 million in profits, because it wasn't all him.
That's, I guess, the sticking point, though, is because on his YouTube videos, he often references Trillium.
Yes,
Tritium.
Trillium. Yeah.
Okay, Trillium. So he often references, like, I was the top trader at Trillium, and he's mentioned he's made a lot of money. I don't remember if he said specifically 100 million, but I think that this Matt guy seems to be stuck on thinking that he made the 100 million personally.
Right.
And
he keeps calling him random versions of the last name. Right here, it's Breitstein.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a total like underhanded comment because obviously he knows his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I would agree with you that it was like if he made it personally, then yeah, that should be like a no brainer. I can just look, this is bank accounts for this period of time or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I never once thought that he made 100 million personally.
Right. And so I mean that's the thing too, is like what I just showed there, right? Is $100 million in verified profits, right? So, you
Yeah.
know, that doesn't necessarily mean it's him versus like somebody like Qual Maggie who has made over $100 million in profits, and like that's, I guess, like a verified thing or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And that's because it's his money. He started with whatever, 3 grand in that account and then just blew it up, you know. uh
Hmm.
I don't know. That's my thoughts. And to be honest, though, I don't think that this should really matter, and I don't think people should hang their hats on and say like, you know, he's a fake, he's a fraud, he's a phony because now he's selling courses and because now he's moved into the teaching space. It makes complete sense, right? Like, look at athletes; they're star
Yeah.
athletes. They retire, they move into commentating. Doesn't mean that they were any less of a star athlete, right? So Lance
Yeah.
referenced,
Or they write a book even maybe, you know?
right, or both, right? So what's the
Hmm.
difference if Lance decided to write a book instead of doing a course, right, or doing a mentorship program? What's the difference, right?
Hmm.
It's the same thing, and nobody harps negatively
Yeah.
on anybody who writes a book. So let Lance teach a course, let Lance put out his videos, let Lance make his content. Like, you know, there's enough there to vouch for that Lance is legit. Like, I don't think, like, when you put this in perspective, Matt is going after Lance, trying to say like, "Oh, show us the proof." You know, you don't have the proof. This, that, and the third. He's driving a lot of
Hmm.
engagement and all that stuff. But bro, like,
Oh yeah.
why don't you go after somebody who's a legit fraud, like ICT or countless other 21-year-old kids who are posing with a rented Lambo, saying that they're, you know, the next Furu out there, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, for absolutely. That's a great alternative target to go after for sure. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. So, and I don't know if he's already done that, and maybe he has, but there's a reason why ICT blocks a lot of people, including me, is because the dude's a fraud. The dude's a legit fraud.
Hmm.
He's never proved he's made a dime. Versus Lance
Right.
has a whole slew of people. You know, at a moment's notice, you can just call them, and they're gonna vouch for his trading profits, right? Like, he doesn't have the
Yeah.
trophies he has in his house from Trillium and the affiliation with SMB for nothing. He is a known, very, very successful, you know, 8-figure a year trader, right? The dude's made over $10 million in multiple years. So,
Yeah.
like, and think about that. That'd be like the world's greatest lie that SMB's in on it, all these other people are in on it, Trillium's in on it, right? Versus you get
Hmm.
ICT, and the only people who believe ICT is the greatest trader in the world are his followers, right? But there's no shred of evidence or proof.
Yeah, right. Some of these comments though were kind of interesting.
Oh, for sure, dude. Like, look at this one here. Michael Patek comes out of the woodwork here from Top Step, claiming this
Uh-huh.
guy's. So he's claiming Matt's out of touch with the trading world, which I feel it's a somewhat valid argument.
Hmm.
But Michael Patek is also the same guy who's literally running a casino.
Yeah, sure.
Like these funding companies, he's literally just running a casino, and you know they advertise Top Step has got one rule, and then you go through the terms and conditions, and you find out, and now they got more like 57.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yeah.
Yeah, what else we got on here?
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to the whole engagement farming sort of topic, I mean, we did that with Patrick. I mean, we knew when we were going to talk about Patrick that we were going to get some engagement, and you know, we had no beef against Patrick,
Hmm.
and it was just a fair comment that we had, you know, had a disagreement with the trade cook. But it's not like I'm saying, oh, he's an idiot, he's a fraudster. We've
No,
talked about him plenty of times before, and I have good things to say about him for real. Like, you know, even with the whole uh, Rena versus Terry competition at the BDH, it's like, you know, he's got his personality, but like I said, I listened to the episodes. He never once said anything disparaging directly to Rena. It was just always about ITT specifically, and just, you know, yeah, I want to hear this ITC crap. But like nothing against her, you know. Only until afterward in X did he only once literally write the R word, towards her directly, but he never said it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just people are gonna content engage when they can. Like I don't know what his ulterior motive is. Other than that, like I mean, it just kind of seems to me like that's the only reason you'd make that kind of a post.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's just kind of.
Do I gotta choke this dog out? Are you hearing my dog?
No, I can't hear you, dog. You think you're
Oh,
good?
okay. Oh, okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think you're
She's
good.
being awful right
I
now.
think you're good. You're good. I think
Okay.
the one last part of this here is that, like what he's talking about, what Matt's talking about is how, or really why Lance explains that his sort of retirement from trading. And,
Hmm.
Lance claims, he made a video about it that, he's suffered some permanent damage to his eyesight, that his tear ducts, don't work as well. So he suffers from dry eyes. I get that. I put drops in my eyes all the time, so I totally understand that. That his sleep was
Hmm.
terrible, that he felt like he was under a lot of stress. And I get
Yeah.
it. Like that's part of the game, right? I've
Yep.
experienced being under stress too. I've experienced like, holding a swing position and being there's just a part of you that's like, is this really going to work, or is it not? And so I can't imagine swinging a, overnight a multiple 100,000 or multiple $1 million position and just being like, oh, like I'm just gonna sleep like a baby tonight. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think about that actually often with regards to trading. The mental that you need in a day trade versus a swing position,
Mm-hmm.
because especially if it's over the weekend, anything can happen over the night.
Mm-hmm.
But like what's worse is like 2 days of anything could happen that could really put you potentially uneasy with regards to not being able to manage that position because the markets are closed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Especially if you're swinging options, then you're just totally at the mercy of whatever happens at 9:30 the next day the market
Yeah.
opens, right? And if you're swinging shares, you stop and get blown through just to have it reverse in the regular trading hours, and that sucks. And there's a million different outcomes and a million different possibilities. But I think the thing that I appreciate with Lance is, his transparency, right? And, him
Mhm.
explaining it and just kind of really kind of, sticking to trading as being a young man's game. And I totally get
Yeah.
it. I totally get it, dude. I've been plenty stressed. So,
Yeah. And then going back to our Furus episode, it's just about, what's believable.
hmm
And you don't have to buy anybody's course. And if he's putting out good enough free content, then, just take the free content.
right, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Um,
what do you
yeah.
think, like, as a
So
final
what do you,
verdict, right? I think this guy's not. I don't think he's a fraud. I don't think he's a furu.
yeah, I don't think
Lance,
so. I just think that people are sticking on the $100 or 100 million figure as if it's personal rather than, through the firm.
for sure.
Yep.
All right, bro.
So what do you think? You should wrap it here?
Let's do it. That's it. Official word
All
right
right.
there is Lance B gets the stamp of approval from the Coast to Coast Traders podcast, and
Yeah.
and
And
we out.
hey guys, I would absolutely, Joe and I would absolutely love it if we can get anywhere between like 500 to a million subs before December. That'd be sweet. So if you can subscribe, you know, it's we're flexible on the target.
Yeah, small range.
Small range. So give us a subscribe. And if you're looking for a new prop firm to trade, we got some affiliate links in the description for funding ticks and trade day. So
Yep.
check those out, guys. Coast to coast is the code.
Hell yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.
Catch you.